Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The shocking developments surrounding the Brown family of Sister Wives fame reached an unexpected climax when courtroom whispers suddenly exploded into public scandal, and it was none other than Garrison Brown, the late son of Janelle and Kody Brown, whose secret life became the center of a heated legal battle that left Robyn and Kody stunned, blindsided, and scrambling for answers. With fans of the TLC show both horrified and fascinated by the evidence that allegedly shattered the carefully crafted image the Browns had presented on television for over a decade, because while viewers long suspected that the Brown children carried burdens of their own away from the cameras, no one could have anticipated the sheer weight of the revelations spilling out under oath, nor the way in which Robyn's face reportedly went pale as the final piece of evidence was revealed. A detail that insiders claim forced even Kody to remain silent in a rare moment of defeat, with courtroom attendees describing the atmosphere as tense, heavy, and unforgettable. And although the Browns are no strangers to controversy, whether it be land disputes at Coyote Pass, divorces played out for the world to see, or accusations of favoritism toward Robyn, the revelation that Garrison allegedly led a private life filled with choices, struggles, and hidden truths none of his parents truly understood has completely shifted the narrative surrounding the family, peeling back layers of secrecy that the TLC cameras never captured, while at the same time exposing the fractures in the so-called united front that Kody and Robyn had tried to project, with many now openly questioning whether Robyn's influence shielded Kody from recognizing the pain and reality of his own son's existence, and whether her constant presence as the perceived favorite wife distracted the patriarch from seeing that his family was crumbling right before his eyes, because what emerged in court was not simply the story of a young man's hidden experiences, but a devastating reminder that the Brown children were often left to navigate life on their own while Kody chased control, power, and appearances, leaving Janelle, Christine, and Mary to pick up the pieces. And yet this time, even Janelle reportedly looked shaken, as though she too had only partially grasped the depths of what Garrison endured. And while many fans have speculated for years about Garrison's struggles with Kody, particularly during the pandemic, when he openly clashed with his father about rules, control, and being shut out of family events, the courtroom disclosure took those speculations to new heights, suggesting that the rift between father and son was far more than stubbornness or youthful rebellion, but instead rooted in deep pain, mistrust, and decisions that Garrison made quietly while Kody paraded around as though his family's loyalty was unquestionable. And the stunning detail that drove gasps through the courtroom reportedly involved financial records and personal correspondences that contradicted Kody and Robyn's long-held statements about unity, love, and shared values, with whispers spreading quickly online that the documents painted a picture of Garrison as someone who, rather than being supported, was repeatedly ignored and pushed aside while Kody poured time, money, and affection into Robyn's children, creating a rift so wide that reconciliation became impossible. And it is this exact imbalance that fans have often pointed out on social media, accusing Robyn of monopolizing Kody's attention while his other children quietly slipped away from him. And now with the so-called final evidence laid bare in a courtroom, many are calling it the ultimate vindication of the wives and kids who spoke out against Kody's favoritism, because no longer could he deflect the truth with his usual bravado, not when the evidence was black and white, undeniable, and staring him down in front of a judge, leaving even Robyn uncharacteristically speechless, while Christine, according to second-hand accounts, was privately supportive of Janelle during this ordeal, though she has since kept her comments vague, perhaps out of respect for the pain surrounding the entire situation. And fans cannot help but note the irony that while Kody has long fought to portray himself as a misunderstood father struggling to keep a massive family together, it is his own actions, his neglect, his favoritism, his obsession with power, that have now circled back to haunt him in the form of courtroom truths that he cannot spin away. And as for Robyn, who has always been positioned as Kody's most loyal partner, her stunned reaction has sparked its own wave of theories, with some claiming she knew far more than she let on, others insisting she truly had no clue, and still others suggesting that her silence was less about shock and more about calculation. A moment where even she realized that the battle was lost, that the facade was cracking, and that the public would not easily forgive the way Garrison was treated, because whether or not the secret life revealed in court was rooted in financial independence, hidden relationships, or emotional struggles, what matters most to viewers is that Garrison was ultimately left unseen by the very people who should have been fighting hardest for him, and now, as the dust begins to settle, fans are demanding accountability, not just from Kody, but from Robyn too, insisting that the pair face the reality that their actions or inactions played a role in the heartbreaking distance between father and son, and while TLC has yet to make an official statement on how or whether this courtroom revelation will be addressed on the show, speculation is rampant that Season 19 could shift its narrative focus to these very revelations, not only because the drama is explosive, but because it strikes at the core of what Sister Wives has always promised, a look behind the curtain of a plural family, a promise that now feels more raw, more painful, and more real than ever. And with whispers of new lawsuits, potential family fallout, and the undeniable fact that the Browns will never be seen the same way again, it seems that the legacy of this courtroom drama is not just about Garrison's secret life being exposed, but about the irrevocable shift it caused in how the world views Kody and Robyn, no longer as misunderstood figures, but as individuals forced to face the evidence they once believed they could control, and in the end, as shocking as the revelations were, perhaps the most haunting moment of all was the silence that followed the final evidence, a silence that said more than Kody's rants ever could, a silence that still echoes in the minds of those who were present, a silence that fans say will define the Brown family saga forever. As the courtroom bombshell surrounding Garrison Brown's secret life reverberated through headlines and fan discussions, the unfolding narrative took on a life of its own, with insiders, alleged witnesses, and online sleuths piecing together the mosaic of revelations that reportedly dismantled the Browns' long-guarded image. And what emerged was not only the haunting picture of a young man caught between the fractured walls of a plural marriage, but also a scathing indictment of Kody's parental failures and Robyn's supposed blind loyalty, a loyalty that now looks less like devotion and more like complicity, because the final evidence, described by those present as both devastating and irrefutable, allegedly included financial transfers, private journals, and communication logs that painted a picture of Garrison fighting desperately to carve out independence while his father turned a blind eye, prioritizing Robyn and her children at every turn, and while Kody has often defended himself in interviews by claiming he treated all his children equally, the courtroom disclosures told a different story, one that revealed a systematic neglect of the older Brown kids who did not live under Robyn's roof, with Garrison's name surfacing repeatedly as someone who felt the sting of favoritism more than most, and fans, who have long accused Robyn of being the family destroyer, now had what many are calling smoking gun evidence to validate their claims, because if the allegations are true, it was not simply favoritism but a pattern of redirection, a funneling of resources that left certain kids unsupported, financially or emotionally, while others were gifted every advantage, and the symbolism of this split, Robyn's children thriving while Janelle's and Christine's kids struggled, cannot be overstated, because it highlights the very division that viewers have witnessed season after season but never had fully confirmed until now, and the idea that Garrison, who outwardly seemed confident, strong, and independent, was living with a secret burden that ultimately found its way into legal proceedings, has sparked deep soul-searching among fans, with some mourning the weight he carried, and others lashing out in anger at Kody and Robyn for failing to see it. And while Janelle is said to have been deeply shaken by the revelations, perhaps even questioning her own role in not noticing sooner, most of the fury has landed squarely on Kody's shoulders, because, as the patriarch who demanded obedience and loyalty, he ironically failed to provide the most basic kind of love and support his children needed, and the visual of him sitting in stunned silence as evidence piled up against him has now become symbolic of the crumbling empire he once bragged about building, an empire that many believe Robyn encouraged him to protect at all costs, even when it meant sacrificing relationships with his older children, and the fallout has not only fractured the family further but also shaken TLC's plans for future seasons, because what once played as reality TV melodrama is now bordering on true crime spectacle, the kind of scandal that can't simply be edited into light-hearted confessionals, and the question hanging in the air is whether the show can even continue in the same format without directly addressing the courtroom chaos, because fans are demanding transparency, demanding answers, and demanding accountability, particularly from Robyn, whose tears and quivering voice may no longer hold the same sway they once did, as more and more viewers now view her reactions as performative rather than genuine, a carefully calibrated persona designed to keep Kody locked in her orbit. And that raises the pressing question: what did Robyn truly know about Garrison's secret life? And when did she know it? Because while she appeared stunned in court, some insiders whisper that she had inklings but chose to remain silent, fearing that any confrontation would destabilize her carefully built position as Kody's favorite. And if that's the case, then her silence becomes less about ignorance and more about self-preservation, an accusation that could haunt her as much as Kody's failures will haunt him, because this family drama is no longer just about failed marriages and custody of land. It's about the legacy of neglect, the children left behind, and the truth that even as cameras rolled for TLC, some of the Browns' most important stories were unfolding in the shadows, unseen until a judge forced them into the light. And now, as speculation swirls about what exactly the financial documents revealed, theories range from Garrison secretly supporting himself through independent ventures that clashed with Kody's narrative, to the heartbreaking idea that he reached out for help and was denied, leading him to create a hidden life built on secrecy rather than openness. And each theory, whether proven or not, adds more fuel to the already raging firestorm of public opinion, with fans drawing lines between Garrison's situation and the ongoing struggles of his siblings like Gabriel, who also clashed bitterly with Kody, or Leon, who felt unsupported in their journey, because in every direction, the pattern is clear. When Kody chose Robyn, he did so at the expense of his children, a trade-off that may have brought him temporary comfort, but has now collapsed in spectacular fashion, leaving him exposed, humiliated, and diminished in the eyes of both his family and the viewing public. And what stings even more is the realization that the final evidence didn't just expose Garrison's struggles, it exposed Kody and Robyn's entire strategy of self-preservation, a strategy built on denial, favoritism, and spin, a strategy that no longer works when faced with black and white proof. And now the Browns stand at a crossroads, with Janelle reportedly retreating into private grief, Christine focusing on her new life with David Woolley and Mary, perhaps feeling vindicated that she too was pushed aside by Kody's obsession with Robyn, leaving the so-called king and queen of Coyote Pass to sit in the rubble of their own making, their stunned courtroom silence echoing louder than any of their past defenses. And while time may dull the headlines, it will not erase the indelible mark this scandal has left on the Brown family legacy, because the truth is out, the evidence is public, and the world is watching more closely than ever before, waiting to see whether Kody and Robyn will own up to the pain they caused, or retreat further into denial, a choice that could very well decide not just their future on television but their place in the hearts of the very children they so spectacularly failed. In the days following the courtroom explosion, whispers about the so-called final evidence only grew louder, with those close to the family hinting that the revelations were so damning they may forever alter how the world remembers the Browns. Because while speculation continues to swirl, the most widely circulated theory is that financial records showed Garrison funneled money into projects and accounts that contradicted Kody's long-standing claims that his children were dependent on him. A revelation that not only embarrassed the patriarch but also underscored just how far out of touch he was with his own son's reality. And the detail that cut the deepest, according to one insider, was a series of journal entries that allegedly revealed Garrison's quiet anguish over being treated as an outsider in his father's home. An anguish that fans now say lines up perfectly with his on-screen confrontations with Kody during the pandemic, and when those words were reportedly read aloud in court. Attendees say the silence was so heavy it felt suffocating, with Robyn lowering her eyes and Kody fidgeting but unable to speak, a scene that underscored the truth many had long suspected, that while Kody was busy defending his marriage to Robyn, he had completely lost sight of the children he claimed to be protecting. And perhaps the most devastating ripple effect is the way other siblings have begun quietly backing Garrison's side of the story, with rumors swirling that Gabriel, Logan, and even Paydon could provide testimony if called upon, testimony that would further solidify the claims that Kody's favoritism wasn't just perceived but systemic, and fans are now openly wondering whether this family fracture can ever be repaired, with many arguing it's too late, that the damage is permanent, and that Kody and Robyn's stunned silence in court was the closest thing the world will ever see to a public admission of guilt. And the irony of it all is that while the Browns built their fame on the idea of transparency and showcasing the reality of plural marriage, the most important realities, the struggles of the children, were hidden away, only to surface in the harshest way possible, under oath in a courtroom. And that contradiction has become the central talking point in fan discussions, with many calling for TLC to either cancel the show or finally air the unvarnished truth. Because if the cameras continue to shield Kody and Robyn while ignoring the children's voices, then the entire brand of Sister Wives collapses under the weight of hypocrisy. And as the dust continues to settle, one thing has become chillingly clear. Garrison's secret life was not just his own. It was a mirror reflecting the dysfunction, favoritism, and denial that has plagued the Brown family for years. And now that mirror has shattered in front of the world, leaving behind pieces that cannot be put back together, no matter how hard Robyn and Kody may try.